Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Divya. Welcome to Visual Vibes. In this Python course, I'm gonna teach you everything that you need to learn to start coding with Python. This course doesn't cost you anything, it's totally free for you. But if you would like to help me out, then you can increase its reach by hitting a like button, leave a random comment down below, share, and subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thanks in advance, and I really appreciate it. Without getting any delay, let's jump right in. Today we're going to see conditional statements in Python. So before I start, I would like to tell you one thing. If you are new to the Python course or if it's your first visit to my channel, then I would like to recommend you to check out the earlier sessions of this video first and then get back here for better understanding and to follow some sequence before getting into the new concepts. Now let's see the conditional statements in Python. So from the name itself, we can simply understand that conditional statements are the statements that only runs when a specified condition becomes true. So these conditions helps us to make decisions as well as to control the flow of the program based on some comparison of values as well as logical conditions. And we have 5 types of conditional statements in Python. That includes if conditional statement, if else conditional statement, nested if conditional statement, if else conditional statement, and the last one is ternary expression. And this ternary expression itself consists of two categories, shorthand if and shorthand if else. Now let's see what are the various types of conditional operators that we will use for decision making while using these conditional statements. So whenever we write the conditional statements or use the conditional statements, two types of operators we are going to use. One is logical operators and other one is comparison operators. So these comparison operators itself having 6 type of categories in it, 6 type of operators I can say. So equal operator, not equal operator, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So whatever the operators we have here, these comparison operators we will use while writing the conditional statements. And under the category of logical operators, we have 3 types: and operator, or operator, and not operator. So whenever we discuss about these conditional statements in detail, then we came to know how these operators we are going to use further. Now let's start with the first conditional statement, if conditional statement. So if conditional statement is mainly used to run a block of code or a set of statements only when a condition becomes true. This is applicable only when a condition becomes true. So in Python, we have for everything, we have a syntax, right? So for the if conditional statement also, we have some syntax that we need to follow. So here you can see, here the set of line starts with the if keyword first, followed by some space and then condition. And at the end of the statement, we have colon. So like this, we need to specify some condition followed by the if keyword. And in the next line, we need to follow some indentation or a tab space followed by the set of or block of statements. So inside the if condition statement, block of statements will go. And if you can see for this syntax, how we can make use of this if condition in the form of code. So here I have given one example where I have specified the variable age is equals to 18 and assigned 18 value to it. And here I'm checking the condition. So age is greater than or equal to 18. So if this condition is satisfied, then inside this if condition, we have the block of code saying that you are eligible to vote. So here this condition is satisfying, right? So that's why the output will be you are eligible to vote. And if you can see the flow chart of the if statement in Python, the flow of the program can be determined by the test expression. So for initially test expression will be checked. So here the test expression will be if age is greater than or equal to 18. If this condition becomes true, then the block of statements inside that if condition will be executed. Otherwise, if the condition becomes false, then the control jumps out of the statement. And out of the statement, whatever the block of or set of statements we have, those statements will be executed. So initially condition is checked if true, code block of statements inside that block will be executed. Otherwise, it jumps out of the if conditional statement. So this is about if conditional statement. Now let's move on to the next one. If else conditional statement. So for the if conditional statement, if we add else conditional statement, then it becomes if else conditional statement. So in this if else conditional statement, first of all, the condition will be checked. So whenever the condition becomes true, then the program executes the block of code inside that if conditional statement. Otherwise, whatever the block of code we have inside the if else will be executed. So here if you can see the syntax for the if conditional statement, we have the else conditional statement block of code will be added. So here we are checking initially we are checking the condition using if if the set of statements becomes true, then this block of code will be executed. Otherwise, control moves to the else block of code, and this set of statement inside the if will be executed. So here if you can see the example, initially I have declared one variable language and I have given the value Python to it, assigned to it, and I'm checking if the language if becomes equals to Python, then I am going to print or execute this line of code saying which I want to print. The coding language is Python, else I want to print some other language. So whenever this condition becomes true, then only this set of statement will be executed. Otherwise, control goes to the else condition and then it prints this message. Currently, the language is equal to Python, so the output will be coding language is Python. Now let's see the flow chart of this if-else conditional statement. So not only in every conditional statements, first of all, the text expression will be checked because that is the one that controls the flow of the program. So here also initially the test expression will be checked. So whenever the test expression becomes true, then the body of if block statements are going to be executed, and then whatever the statements that are below if statement will be executed. So if the condition becomes false, means then the body of else block of statements will be executed. So simply I can say if the test expression becomes true, the statements that are under if conditional statement will be executed. Otherwise, the statements which are under the else conditional statement will be executed. Now let's move on to the third one, nested if conditional statement. So we have initially we have seen the if conditional statement, right? So if that if conditional statement we have inside other if conditional statement, then we can call that as a nested if conditional statement. So this nested if conditional statements allows us to place the one if conditional statement inside another if conditional statement. So this helps us to mainly to check multiple conditions in a structured or in an order way. So here you can see the syntax. So initially we have one conditional statement, if conditional statement, and inside that if conditional statement followed by the indentation, we have another conditional statement. Not only two conditions, if we want to have some other 3 to 4 or n number of if conditional statements also if you want to write, we can write very well write inside that particular nested if conditions. So inside this nested if condition, so the second line we can call as nested if condition. So inside this nested if condition, we have the block of statements to run. So here if you can see the example, I have declared the variable language and I have assigned Python value to it. And the other variable I have declared is YOE, stands for years of experience in that Python language. And I have assigned 3 value to it. So I want to check here. So here the use case is if the language equals to Python, then only I want to check the years of experience in Python. So if the language is other than the Python, I don't want to check this years of experience. I only want to check the years of experience whenever the language is Python. So here if you can see, I have given the language is equals to Python, then only I'm printing you're using Python. And then inside this statement, I have used the nested if condition, one more nested if conditional statement, checking years of experience is greater than or equal to 2. So if this nested if condition also becomes true, then the set of statement inside this nested if conditional statement will be executed, saying that you are an experienced Python developer. So if at the starting itself this condition becomes false, means directly else block will be executed. So here also else block will be executed. So this is how nested if conditional statements are going to work. And also one more thing. So here if we can see, initially we have discussed it, right? We can use a comparison as well as logical operators while defining the conditional statement. So here I have the fourth line I have used the comparison operator and checking whether the value is equal to Python. And in the sixth line I have used the same comparison operator greater than or equal to. So like this, we are going to use the operators inside the conditional statements. Now let's see the flow chart of the nested if statement. So here, since for the simplicity, I have given two if conditional statements, so we can use a number of if statements inside nested if. So here for initially the one test expression is going to be checked. If this test expression becomes true means then the nested if condition will be or text expression will be checked. When only then if it also becomes true, then the body of or block of statements inside nested if conditional statement will be executed. Otherwise, if it false means then the body of nested else. So inside this nested if we have the nested else, then that body of nested else block of statements will be executed. So if the text expression becomes true, false means true means it will go in this way. If false means then the block of statements inside the else block will be executed. So once the body of else block will be executed, whichever the statements, suppose if you have other set of statements below that if a conditional statement, then those statements will be executed. So this is how the flow of the program will go in case of nested if conditional statement. Next, we have if else conditional statement. So we have seen the if else conditional statement, right? So for that if else conditional statement, if we add elif conditional statement, then it becomes if else conditional statement. So this conditional statement also allows us to check multiple conditions, which in particularly I can say if we want to check multiple main conditions one by one, then we can go with the if else conditional statement. So when we compare this if else conditional statement with nested if, both are used to check multiple conditions only. But when it comes to nested if, um, inside whenever a particular main condition becomes true, inside that main condition, if you want to check some other cases followed by that main condition, then for those scenarios we need to use the nested if conditional statement. Whereas if else conditional statement will be used whenever if we want to check multiple main conditions one by one. Then we can go with this type of conditional statement. So in this, whenever a condition becomes or a particular condition inside that block of inside that conditional becomes true, then only the block of code belong to that conditional statement will be executed, and the rest of the conditional statements will be skipped. So here, if you can see the syntax. So for the if conditional statement and the else conditional statement, in between or in the middle, elif conditional statement is added. So inside this elif conditional statement, we have the block of code. So this is the keyword we need to use elif before the condition. So this syntax is mainly consists of three types of conditions. Here, according to the syntax, here we have only only one elif conditions. So, but in real world, like or in real scenarios, we can make use of n number of elif conditions. So we can define n number of elif conditions in between the if and else condition. So initially, it will check the if condition. If it becomes true, then this set of block of code will be executed. If this condition becomes false, then it checks the condition for elif. If it becomes true, then this set of code will be executed. Else, if the none of the conditions becomes true, then else block of code will be executed. So here, if you can see this example, I have declared one variable score, assigning 80 value to it, and then I am checking if this score is greater than or equal to 90. If this condition becomes true means I want to print the grade as A. Or else if this condition becomes false means I want to check one more condition. If this score is greater than or equal to 60 means then I want to print the grade as B. If none of the condition becomes true means then in the inside the else block I want to print the grade as C. So here if you want to check multiple main conditions in those scenarios we can go with this if else conditional statement. Now let's see the flow chart of the if else statement. So here we can have multiple set of test expressions. Here I can say this test expression belong to if conditional statement and these two test expressions belong to elif conditional statements. So if the initial test expression becomes true means then the statement one inside that if conditional statement will be executed and then it directly move on to the statements which are in just below the if else if elif block of statements. And if the initial test expression becomes false means then it checks the test expression true. If it is becomes true then only statement 2 inside this test expression will be executed and then it move on to the other set of statements below the if else if elif. And if this test expression second is becomes false means then it moves to the test expression 3. If it becomes yes, similarly, the statement inside this test expression will be executed and move on to the statement will be just below the if else if. Otherwise, if it becomes false means then the body of else block of statements will be executed and then it come out of that else and then it will executes the other set of statements just below the if else if. So this is how the flow of the program will go in case of if elif else statement. Now let's see the last one, ternary expression. So while defining the ternary expression, we need to use the ternary operator. So this ternary operator allows us to write the conditional statement like if conditional statement or else if conditional statement in one line. So that makes the code very shorter and cleaner. So if you want to make the or write the conditional statement in one line, we can go with the ternary expressions. So instead of defining the conditional statements in two lines, using this ternary expression, we can very well define the whole set of conditional statement in one line, and that gives us the simplicity. So inside this ternary expression, we have two categories, shorthand if and shorthand if else. So shorthand if means initially we have seen the if conditional statement, right? So how will be the syntax? The syntax will be if conditional followed by the set of statement inside that if condition. So instead of writing like that, if so we can follow this syntax. So if the condition or the expression colon and the set of statement whichever goes inside that we need to define it here itself in the single line. So here if you can see the example of this score is equals to 78 I have assigned and I'm going to check the score is greater than or equal to 33 and I'm going to print this pass. So here if you can see this expression, so this expression is following this syntax if followed by the expression is a score and then condition. So expression is score is greater than or equal to 3. So this is the condition or expression. I'm checking if this satisfies then it's going to print or execute the block of statement here. So similar to the shorthand if we have shorthand if else. So to the shorthand if else will be added. So here is the syntax. So similarly we have if condition. So this if condition is followed by the or initially we have the value for the if condition else value for the false condition. So if you can see the example, I have declared one variable assigning a 75 value to it. And in the result variable, I was given the expression like this. So initially, we need to give the value if true. So pass I have given if marks greater than or equal to true. So if this expression becomes true, then it's going to print the value pass. Else, I need to define the value if false. So what will be the value? If this condition becomes false means fail. So like this, the expression will go based on this syntax in case of shorthand if else. So this is about ternary expression, and this is all about the types of conditional statements in Python. So we have seen different types of conditional statements and the conditional operators that we're going to use while defining the conditional statements. And we have seen the examples for each of the conditional statements, as well as we have seen the syntax that we need to follow while writing the conditional statements. So that's all for today. I hope you like this session. If you have any doubts, feel free to post them in the comment section. We'll definitely answer your questions, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care, goodbye, and enjoy programming.